the sandwich generation can be very intense. And it's even more intense if you're taking care of your aging parents. Being a caregiver is like taking on a whole new identity.
I'm calling it our caring era. It's not really catching on yet, but we'll see.
The day I realized I was a part of the sandwich generation was when I was sitting at my computer, paying my mortgage, paying a school fee for my son, and taking on my dad's first bill.
When I had a preschooler and a toddler, I got a call from my previously very independent mom that she was in the hospital.
My mom was diagnosed with ALS officially. It made the most sense to move them in next door.
So we're expecting our first baby boy in end of August. And when I think about what that is going to feel like to take care of my wife and my new son and my mom, it's a bit overwhelming.
So I have the guilt of not spending time with my mom when I'm with my son, but then when I'm with my son, I feel like my time with my mom is limited.
I also had to take over guardianship for my adult brother with Down syndrome, so it was actually more like a sandwich with a side of fries.
I have kind of prided myself on being self-sufficient, and in this season of life, that's almost been laughable.
This is HealthQ from Nashville Public Radio and KFF Health News.
HealthQ, like IQ, but for health. We're hoping to be your approachable guide to an unapproachable health system. And today we're bringing you some healthcare know-how from those of us wedged in the sandwich generation.
Yeah, and that includes both of us. I'm Blake Farmer with Nashville Public Radio, here with Cara Anthony from KFF Health News. We're both healthcare reporters and also sandwich generation folks. This HealthQ special really hits close to home for both of us and, you, Cara, especially.
Oh, yes. I'm right in the thick of it. I have a 9-year-old daughter, plus my parents are close by, and they need more and more from me every day.
So when did you realize that you really were in the thick of it, this sandwich generation?
Look, I was in denial about this for a very long time, but a recent experience was a real wake-up call for me. My dad was sick and he needed to go to the ER. And meanwhile, my mom and my daughter are at home hungry without food. The clock is ticking. My dad's still on an ER stretcher. I finally get home and Lily is still up. And at this point, it's like close to midnight.
Oh, my gosh. You know that you're going to pay for that in the morning. I know the feeling. Well, I can see why that would be a wake-up call. We've heard stories like this from all over the country. If you're taking care of a child and you have a parent who is retirement age, like 65 and up, there's a lot of us who are right there with you. 1/4 of American adults fall into that category, and that's according to Pew Research. And the reason more of us are squeezed here, it's kind of simple. A lot of us waited a little longer to have kids, and our parents are living longer. But that does mean that you've got this time where you've got kids who might need your care and parents who start really leaning on you. Now, if you choose to accept being a caregiver, also here, you've got your own health that's starting to fail a little bit or needs more attention around this time.
Whew, okay, the big takeaway: being in the sandwich generation can be very intense. And it's even more intense if you're taking care of your aging parents. Being a caregiver is like taking on a whole new identity.
I'm calling it our caring era. It's not really catching on yet, but we'll see. To be honest, though, I've never really thought of myself as a caregiver. Even with kids, it's, you don't really have a choice. Changed a lot of diapers, but I had a parent who died from ALS, and my mother needed tons of care. I certainly was involved, but it was mostly my dad who was caregiving for my mom. Now, I'm obviously still involved with the kids, and I will be with my father at some point, but I don't know. I'm just not really a caregiver.
Okay. I have a lot of thoughts about this.
I know.
As you know, we talked about this before. So let's cue our first game. It's called Make Me Care. Let me see if I can make you care about why it matters, why you should really think of yourself as a caregiver.
All right, if we're going to play a game, we need some music. Cue the music.
Blake, look, I was in denial for years about being a caregiver.
Okay, denial. Why?
Well, first of all, it's a lot of work. It's like I have to do a job that I didn't apply for, and I keep getting promoted without pay. Every year, I'm taking on new assignments and more responsibility, taking my parents to the ER as needed, driving my mom around when my dad can't, light cleaning, meals, the list goes on and on and on.
I don't care how many promotions I'm going to get. I don't want this job either.
Yes, it's a lot. But even though I resist the identity of a caregiver sometimes, and really it happens a lot, I wish I had owned this earlier. I recently spoke to Denise Brown. She is a caregiving coach who lives in Illinois. And back in the 90s, she created this framework for caregiving. She has 6 stages, but let's talk about the first 3. Denise says the first stage is being the expectant caregiver. Then you have the freshman caregiver and the entrenched caregiver. But the first stage actually happens when you start to worry about someone in your life, when you start to worry about a loved one that might need a little bit more help.
And I think what often starts a caregiving experience for individuals is worry. You're starting to worry about someone in the family. And it's not necessarily around defining caregiving by tasks and chores, but about that emotional impact of caregiving.
Yeah, I started worrying about my parents' health years ago, really when my mom started having some trouble walking. Back then, she didn't need a walker, but I really could have started calling myself a caregiver the moment I noticed that things were changing.
But to be honest, I'm not sure I understand why it matters to call yourself a caregiver, even when you're not, what seems to me to be actively caregiving.
Naming it changes the way you prepare for the future. Let's turn back the hands of time. Remember when you were expecting your first child? You didn't wait until that baby was born to get ready.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I recall, there were a bunch of baby showers. We got gifts. We also got some wisdom imparted on us.
Yes, it's the same thing with caregiving. Calling yourself a caregiver and really owning it, when you do that, you're able to tell your friends, your family, and even your boss that you might need a little bit more help and patience. And research also shows that people who call themselves caregivers are more likely to reach out for help. And in several states, they even have some kind of caregiver tax credit.
Wait, listen, if there is a financial benefit, this is something I can get on board with. All right.
Yeah, but the biggest thing when you are kind of embracing your role as a caregiver, it allows you to have better conversations with the people that you're caring for. I recently just had a conversation with my own mom, and this is probably the first time we ever sat down to talk about this. And I was just really happy and kind of surprised that she understood how stressful all of this can be for me.
You don't want to put us on the back burner, but yet you have a job that you're working. You don't want to put your daughter on the back burner, but you have your parents that you're taking care of. So that's my concern. I'm concerned about your health as well.
I felt so seen after that conversation with her. So if you don't mind, I'd like to reintroduce myself to you right now. Hi, Blake. My name is Cara, and I am a caregiver to my amazing parents.
Wow. Well, it's nice to meet you, Cara, the caregiver. I might not be right there with you just yet, but it sounds like I am at least an expectant caregiver. This is Blake Farmer and Cara Anthony from HealthQ, from Nashville Public Radio and KFF Health News. We are talking about how to approach being in this sandwich generation. So we've embraced the value of identifying as a caregiver, and you mentioned, Cara, that Denise had come up with this whole list of stages of caregiving, 6 different stages. What stage are you in?
Oh, I'm in deep. I'm stage 3.
Yeah.
I'm an entrenched caregiver. Groceries, all the things, pharmacy runs, you name it, I'm there as needed.
Well, having spent a lot of time with you now, I do know there are siblings. You have siblings. Are they allowed to embrace the title of caregiver as well, even though they are not physically present? They don't live in the same city with you guys near St. Louis?
Yes, this is so important. Caregivers show up in all sorts of ways. Denise and I talked a lot about this. You can be an emotional caregiver. My sister and my brother, they both listen to my mom and dad when they're going through things and helping them work through things just on the phone. That's super helpful. They also are financial caregivers. They send us stuff, door dashes, whatever they need. I'm on the ground as a physical caregiver and really making things happen, in the physical sense. But it's really important to know that caregiving shows up in all different forms, shapes, and sizes.
Yeah. Well, I think you're doing a great job. Boots on the ground.
Yeah. So let's talk about your caregiving situation because you said before that you really didn't identify as one.
Well, yeah, and it's probably because I lean too heavily on my wife. Shout out Mariah. We kind of have an agreement. If push came to shove, I would do more, certainly if she needed me to give care to her. But it sounds kind of old-fashioned, but I think of myself a little more as like, all right, I'm going to focus on being the provider, job, income, insurance for everybody. And she's okay with that.
Yeah, I know you've talked to Mariah a lot about this, and we wanted to hear from her too. So our producer, Katherine, called her up. Here's what she had to say about being the family caregiver.
I like being the caregiver. I like being the one that people need. I just like that people can rely on me. I feel like that is just a great quality to have, being reliable. And I like that I can be that for people. But I think some gratitude is what goes a long way. Just saying thank you for being the flexible person. Thank you for altering your schedule when needed to take care of the people who need help. And honestly, I think that's probably all I really need.
Sounds like I've got some thank yous to dish out. And listen, I when push comes to shove, I will be there when I'm needed. But I'm going to also give a little more thank yous. Let me turn it around to you because you've made me uncomfortable here. You take on so much for your family. So let me ask the uncomfortable question. What would it look like if you took on less?
It's really hard for me to imagine taking on less because I really feel like this is my responsibility. I worry so deeply about what their lives would look like if someone else was doing their caregiving. But also, I just want to take a moment to say here that I think mom and dad would really figure this out if I wasn't around. Maybe they would get their drugs delivered, their pharmaceutical drugs delivered, and things like that would be put into place. But also, it's not all bad. Like, our caregiving situation, while I am exhausted, there's a lot of beauty in this too. I often get to see my parents interact with Lily, and they just so enjoy spending time together. My mom is the one who helps Lily with her homework every day. And so I just want to say that this can also be a very beautiful experience.
Well, earlier we heard many voices from around the country, folks in this sandwich generation, and there was a lot of stress and exhaustion, just like from you. But many of those same folks told us there was this joy and gratitude layered into the sandwich. One of them was Jason McAnally from Nashville, 2 kids, ages 11 and 1.5, and he helps with care for his dad.
My dad is someone who is a very giving person, and that's looked like helping, like coming over and mowing my lawn and things like that. And right now he's at a place where he has less physically to offer. And even though he can't take care of my kids by himself, they absolutely love him. And so him just being around them without having to offer them anything other than his attention has been a really beautiful thing. I mean, I have a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah, Jason, I feel you, and so many of us can relate.
All right, coming up, we want to make being part of the sandwich generation a little easier by boosting your HealthQ about this stage of life. We're going to start by talking about an option to take time off of work when caregiving that a lot of people do not fully understand.
And we're going to talk about our kids, an important part of the sandwich, and how their mental health is one of the biggest challenges that arises in parenting.
Plus, we didn't leave ourselves out. We're going to talk about our own health and what to know about screening for early onset cancers, especially if you're in that core sandwich generation age range.
More HealthQ on the way.